Hey everybody, welcome back to Wrestling with Wrestling after a brief hiatus last week, owing completely to my own busy schedule. We're back once again, 2 men, 1 hour, and then another half an hour. That's the way the show goes. It's an hour and a half. Anyway, I am Steve Shives, and joining me as always, my co-host, my partner in crime, my fellow wrestling fan, and the best goddamn referee that there ever was, as far as I'm concerned, in the game of pro wrestling. Doc Gregory, how's it going, man?
Well, it's going pretty good, man. I mean, I'm having a pretty good week out here so far. You know, we are heading into the holidays, so business is about to pick up for me when it comes to my job, which if any of you haven't watched the show or know what I do, I am a truck driver for Boar's Head brand meats. So yeah, show your love right now. Hold up your signs, Boar's Head section. Other than that, it's pretty good. There's a dog that lives across the street here that yesterday I was trying to take a nap and he was just barking uncontrollably for like 3.5 hours. And I am a pet lover, but that's a little bit monotonous. There's 5 houses down and across the street. So if you hear a dog like randomly barking in this show, that is that dog. I'm actually thinking about going over there and not being an angry person, but showing myself more as a concerned person. Maybe I thought the dog was, it was barking so much that something might be wrong with it, and I didn't think anybody was home.
Yeah, that's the way to go. Say, hey, is that dog okay? Because he's barking a lot. Well, that's good. I'm glad things are well with you, my friend. Actually, because Doc is a Boar's Head driver, a couple weeks ago, I posted on my Facebook that new study that came out, that said that eating too much bacon can cause cancer. And Doc immediately posted some Boar's Head stuff in the comments. You're like, hey, I don't give a fuck. If you don't give a fuck either, maybe have some meat, So I thought that was great.
Actually, when I came home today from work, I got into the refrigerator and I had because I had our director from Neon Real Entertainment, Matt Matson. Yeah. He came over. We had a meeting last night, and he stayed for dinner. And we made cheeseburgers with Boar's Head bacon and homemade French fries. And we had some more Boar's Head bacon left over in the fridge. So that's the first thing I went to when I came home and made myself a nice little Boar's Head bacon sandwich. So yeah, if bacon's going to kill you, I mean, screw you. I mean, I was watching this show before we get into wrestling. I was watching Bill Nye's show, the new Explorer show that's on it, which is really cool. His episode this week was about climate change, which I had really started looking into, like the tar sands and all that shit and what's going on up there. Yeah. And he had a person on there that says he don't expect to see any person on the planet, any living human person on the planet past 2030. So enjoy your bacon, people.
Yeah. Hey, the Earth might kill us all anyway. So yeah. We were off last week. We're going to talk about the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view very briefly because it's already 2 weeks ago and it's kind of old news, but we did do our prediction poll. But before we get to there, Doc, do we have a couple of questions from our wonderful viewers that we can talk about before we dive into the usual business?
Yeah, and I hate to spring these on you because they're like, I know you're actually smarter than me with creating words than I am. So I mean, so I know that. So you shouldn't have any problem. But I haven't even thought about it myself. First, we have Den Christ. He says, "Hey, Doc and Steve, what's your favorite entrance music, both past and present, and what would your entrance music be?"
Oh man, I feel kind of bad saying it because now that I'm a grown up and I know what an asshole he is, but the little kid in me, the 5, 6, 7-year-old kid, remembers it so well. I have to say Hogan's entrance music, Real American. It just makes me feel like an 8-year-old wrestling fan again every time I hear it. Even though as a grown up, I can no longer say I'm really a Hulk Hogan fan. As a child, I was a huge Hulk Hogan fan, and Real American was it. That was the greatest theme music ever. As for currently, I don't know. I kind of like Samoa Joe's theme now in NXT. His first theme music in NXT was kind of shitty, and they actually changed it like a week later because it was so bad. And the new version is actually pretty cool. Like the low bass sort of horns blaring, and it just sounds kind of mean and badass, and that's like what you think of when you think of Samoa Joe. So I would say that. And as for what my theme music would be, when me and my friends would wrestle in the basement and pretend to be wrestlers, I always thought my theme would be the Led Zeppelin version of When the Levee Breaks. So there you go.
Let me think on that. I would say old school. I'm gonna have to go with a little bit of I got a long sideburns and my hair slicked back. I'm coming to your town in my new Cadillac. I'm just a honky tonk man.
Honky tonk man.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Honky Tonk Man's theme music because I like something that, I mean, Pomp and Circumstance with Macho Man is up there. When you heard that music, you got excited because he was my favorite wrestler. But I go with more of the fun type of theme songs that you can always remember and sing along with. And Honky Tonk Man ranks up there. As of today, I'm going to have to go with boom, boom, boom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got to have that Bray Wyatt. It's so creepy, but it's cool. Theme. It's nice and smooth. It's soothing too, which I love. You know, when with the Bray Wyatt. Guilty pleasure. I'm gonna have to go. Guilty pleasures. I'm gonna have to go with like Steven Regal's original entrance music. He's a man, such a man. So I love Steven Regal's original music, and then and they did something on the WWE website the other day about lame entrances, and Rob Conway was on there. And I thought Rob Conway's theme song was really good at the time. I mean, he might have not carried the theme song, but I love that theme song. It's like that. Just look at me, and I decide to see
yes.
The whole damn world wants to look at me. Be like me, anyways. But yeah, that's actually a pretty good question. I enjoyed answering that one. Yeah. A second question comes from Cuz the Fuzz. What's up, Cuz? He says, "Hey guys, big fan of the show." Well, we know. My question is, if you could bring back any wrestler from the 2000s to the main roster, who would it be? And of course, had to throw out his choice would be Carlito. And there's still word out there and rumors, so you might get your wish, brother.
Yeah, Carlito is still out there doing shit. That's a tough one because I think the person I would choose to bring back to WWE is someone who is still sort of active, although he's getting really close to the end of his career. I would love to bring back Kurt Angle because Kurt Angle, when he hit his groove about 2001, 2002, 2003, when he really dialed in as a wrestler and as a performer, he was one of the best there ever was. I am a huge fan of Kurt Angle from like the mid 2000s. So if I have to pick one guy from that era, if I could like pluck them up out of time and drop them back into the current product, it would be Kurt. No doubt about it.
I'm gonna have to go with the guy that I in the 2000s. He was he had a nice little run in WCW, but when he got into WWE, you know, like he just kind of chiseled out. I thought he had a great freaking look. He was chiseled. He was a big guy. You know, it's exactly what the WWE looks for. But I'm gonna have to go with the guy that I really loved, Sean O'Haire.
Oh yeah, he was great.
Yeah, I would have dropped him right back into 2000. I think, you know, I'm not sure what his status is these days. I haven't heard much about him. I did meet him at when my wife worked at Hot Topic. A whole bunch of wrestlers came in one day, like Shelton Benjamin and Sean O'Haire and Charlie Haas, and these are also guys that, man, I mean, they're still active, and they would, and if they can't do justice by WWE, they would do justice by fucking NXT. Absolutely.
Oh man, Shelton and Charlie are two more I would love to bring back. Absolutely. Shelton and Charlie were awesome.
Our third and final question comes from Jennifer Gordon. Yes, a female. I am surprised. Hey. Thank you, Jennifer, for watching our show. It's much appreciative.
Yes.
But she says, "Hey guys, I know you talked a little bit about it in your shows, but what are your thoughts on the current shows being just altered matches of pay-per-view matches that are upcoming? Do you think they do this concept too much to where it makes the pay-per-views seem not as hyped up as they could be? I miss the days of the jobbers. where you didn't get to see the stars you wanted until the actual pay-per-view match. Do you think that they should hire jobbers and start using that as means to make their bigger matches more anticipated?
I think they should bring back the use of jobbers. I don't think that they should go back to, having the TV shows be nothing but jobber matches. They can't really do that because remember when they were doing jobber matches for the most part on TV, the TV shows were only an hour long. They would do in the really early days of Raw when it was taped and it was only an hour, or on like Superstars or Wrestling Challenge or the syndicated shows that WCW had, like WCW Main Event or WCW Pro Wrestling. They were mostly jobber matches, and that was okay because it was an hour long, and you could have maybe 3 or 4 or 5 3-minute jobber matches to sort of get your stars out there and make everybody look good, and then have maybe one match between a couple of name wrestlers to sort of do the main event. But if you're doing a 2-hour show, or now with Raw, a 3-hour show, you do have to have a couple of good matches on the show. It can't just be nothing but jobbers. But I do think they should have more enhancement matches like that. I think the actual in-ring matches for the regular shows should probably mostly be that, and maybe have 2 or 3 kind of big matches per week to sort of draw the crowd and give you a reason to watch. And yeah, I completely agree that they've ruined pay-per-view matches. I mean, they'll do matches on pay-per-view that you just saw on Raw, and that you're going to see again on Raw again. Like, it makes this pay-per-view matchups just aren't special anymore. So yeah, that's a big problem. Absolutely.
Yeah, she mentioned about throwing stars into 6-man tags, and yeah, absolutely, I agree with you there that they shouldn't ruin pay-per-views. I mean, yeah, you guys like you and me, we remember those old days where superstars might have like little promos, like Hogan being attacked or some shit like that by the Undertaker or anything, but they wouldn't have come in contact with each other at all until the pay-per-view, because that's what they were building on. But you're right about also time constraints as well. As far as Raw breaks down, I would make that first hour like for jobbers and enhancement. That second hour being, star versus star. That third hour being, because you're going late, more toward the adult style of wrestling. That's the way I would probably break down Raw if I could. Every hour is a little bit different. It's going to get a little bit, here's your enhancement, because a lot of people might not tune in for the first hour. We might build some storylines, but we're going to build some characters here. Second hour, we're going to give you some high quality matches. They're mid card matches, but they're going to be stars against stars. And then we're going to just turn up the heat a little bit. Language might get a little harder. The action might get a little bit harder. You might see a little bit of blood. For Christ's sake, bring back the blood. Never killed anybody. Unless they were, shot in their living room like Dino Bravo.
Yeah. And that wasn't part of a show, so it's okay.
As far as bringing back jobbers, I agree with that. I mean, WWE is a traveling circus, and they go to city from city from city. I mean, I have a friend of mine in the business, Bill Bain, and if you look back, and you can find him on the network. He was one of during the Capital Punishment pay-per-view. I think he was a Secret Serviceman for Obama. He was one of the dark hooded characters when I can't remember the time, but the Undertaker. It was a fight with the Undertaker, and the Undertaker beat the shit out of him. He also has been in what the WWE's joke of ECW was. When Vladimir Kozlov and all of them were up there, he wrestled in the ECW there at the time as enhancement talent. I mean, but don't, in case Bill's watching this, brother, I mean, you're not enhancement talent, brother. You're a good friend of mine. This business. This old school business. I mean, shit. Well, I'll make you a legend next week if you don't kick my ass.
But that's a good point, because we've talked about this before. A lot of times back in the day, the guys who were used as enhancement talent were the best workers on the show. They maybe weren't as showy. They didn't have that kind of natural charisma maybe that the stars did. But in terms of just being able to fucking put together a match and work a match in the ring, they were awesome. They had to be, because they had to make everybody look good.
Yeah, I mean, and plus you got that fucking school down there. So you just pick a crop of people that nobody knows. and say we're going to cut your teeth, but you're not going to win. You know, it's basically get in there. You're going to you might have a spot or two, which is all you know. But it's really going to be a beatdown as long as you know your bumps and all that stuff. So you need to learn your bumps. The superstar will get with you and teach you how to go through that.
Yeah, and just exactly get in the. You're going to be on TV. You're going to be working with top talent, but your job is to just get in there and sell everything and make him look good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a school now, so that's a perfect opportunity for them to get back into that.
And you know what? They don't promote it this way, and they don't really call them enhancement talent or journeymen or jobbers or whatever. But on NXT, they do that. The guys and girls who come into NXT who are new, who are just on TV, who maybe have been training in the Performance Center for a while, and they don't really have gimmicks yet, or they don't really have established characters, they'll go out there. I'm like the girls that Nia Jax has been wrestling the last. You know, I mean, they don't call them jobbers, and maybe a couple of them, maybe they see something as far as the future in them, and they'll use them for more important stuff later on down the road. But for now, they're going out there just to get killed by Nia Jax. Yeah. You know, that's enhancement talent.
Yeah, my buddy from North Carolina, I've known him for a while, and he's a great freaking talent, and you should look him up. His name's John Schuyler. He recently just worked for TNA. So, I mean, and TNA, I mean, I'm going to have to give them credit because they are tapping into some young talent that's out there, and simply because it's not available for you to see, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're going to lose their contract. The company's failing, but you know, they do have an amazing talent pool there. So, but you know, kudos to John Schuyler for getting some time with TNA there.
Yeah, and kudos to the enhancement talent in general, because they really are unsung heroes of the business. And thanks to you guys for the questions. As a reminder, we like to open up the show every week by answering your questions. So if you have a question or a comment that you want Doc or I's opinion on, leave it in the comments of this video that you're watching right now. Leave us a question, leave us a comment, and we will respond to, you know, 2 or 3 of them at the beginning of next week's show. So looking forward to hearing your questions for next time. Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's 4:20, dude.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's time to start our show.
Call Rob Van Dam. No, don't call him. He won't come to the phone right now, but give him a couple minutes and then call him. Yeah, so well, we were off last week, so we missed reviewing Hell in a Cell, but I did want to go through the prediction results just really quickly, because we did give our predictions as usual on our last show. So very quickly, Ziggler, Neville, and Cesaro won the pre-show match. We both got that one right. John Cena did lose the U.S. title. I had guessed that it might be Dean Ambrose answering the challenge, but it wasn't. It was actually fucking Alberto Del Rio who came back, which was really cool because I always liked Alberto. Alberto came back, and Alberto beat John Cena for the U.S. title.
And we should delve into that subject here in the show. There's 2 weeks worth of it at this point.
Yes, indeed. Yes, Alberto is back, and he's got Zeb Coulter as his manager. And I went ahead and gave us both a point for that one, because even though we said Dean instead of Alberto, we both guessed that John was going to lose the title, so fuck it. Then Roman Reigns defeated Bray Wyatt in the first Hell in a Cell match. That was the only one we disagreed on. I got that one right, and Doc got that one wrong. Roman won. Then there was the tag titles match. The New Day defeated the Dudley Boys. We both got that one right. The Divas title match. Charlotte successfully defended against Nikki. We both got that one right. The world title match. Rollins successfully defended against Kane. We both called that one right. The Intercontinental title match. We both got that one right. Kevin Owens beat Ryback. And then the main event, the Hell in a Cell match, where, thank God, Brock Lesnar defeated The Undertaker. And we both got that one right. So I got 8 out of 8. Doc got 7 out of 8. The only one we disagreed on was the first Hell in a Cell match. And that's the one that broke in my favor. So I got the better.
But for a moment, let's just pause.
Yes.
And talk about the ending of Hell in a Cell, where the Wyatt family claimed the soul.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we all know what souls are all about here on this channel. But Yeah, claim the soul of the Undertaker. Ooh,
Yep.
creepy. And
Yeah.
of course, now we're going back to that rival. We're setting up for the Survivor Series is what we're doing.
Yeah, which I guess makes sense because they're building Survivor Series around the Undertaker this year because it's the 25th anniversary of the Undertaker debuting at Survivor Series in 1990. So that makes sense, you know. And it seems like they're really giving the Undertaker kind of like a victory lap this year. You know, they made a big deal about him blowing off his feud with Brock, and then now it's Survivor Series and it's all about memories of the Undertaker. So it seems like they're really ramping up to give him a big send off, which would make sense because WrestleMania is in Texas next year. But yeah, I mean, the only thing I didn't like about that, it's the same thing that I don't like about pretty much everything they do with Bray Wyatt lately, is that it just feels like smoke and mirrors because they never put Bray over anybody.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I didn't like about it. I would have been, if Bray had won the fucking match against Roman Reigns, like, hey, if you're going to have Bray Wyatt work with The Undertaker, your legendary legend of all legends, maybe he should win his fucking match. I'm just saying, you know, that's the part that drives me crazy. And I mean, the whole soul eating thing is dopey. And I mean, we'll get more into that when we get to that segment on this episode of Raw, because I have thoughts about that. But yeah, I mean, it's nice to see Bray and the Wyatts working with The Undertaker because that's like a top level program. But I mean, God, would it kill him to fucking win a match every now and then?
And certainly, if you're that player, to see him out would be epic. So if that's what they have in mind, then I would say, Bray, brother, I mean, you have a really good position. It's like when Shawn Michaels retired Ric Flair.
Yeah.
It's that position. I'm like, how special is that to see someone who's epic, who is a legend, who will probably go into the Hall of Fame next year, see him out. I mean, yeah, I mean, as much as I'm like, oh my God, are we going to go do this again? I'm also like, this might be that moment.
Yeah. And I think it's nice to see that the company, Vince or somebody with pull in WWE, they obviously like Bray Wyatt because they keep going back to him. You know, even though he always gets booked to lose, they constantly bring him back and they're continually making sure he has things to do, which is good. You know, it's because I love Bray too. I think he's one of their top talents right now. But if they really had confidence in him, they should be booking him to win. So that when he does lose to a babyface, like say The Undertaker, it means something. The Undertaker's actually beaten somebody. If he beats Bray Wyatt now, well, I mean, Bray Wyatt's cool, but everybody beats Bray Wyatt. So what the fuck does it matter if The Undertaker beats him? He's just beating the guy that everybody else beats. Whoopee. You know?
Yeah, when he finally gets on top, will you be thinking, yeah, you remember when he couldn't win against those 2000 crop of wrestlers?
Yeah, right. He lost to all those guys that were over the hill. Yeah, so, you know, I mean, good for Bray. I'm glad that he has a good position in the company because he definitely deserves it in terms of his talent. But I wish they were protecting him a little more in terms of the booking if they want us to treat him like a big deal, you know? Well,
better than Bo.
Oh, God, fucking Bo, man.
Man, moving on.
Oh, Bo. Say it ain't so, Bo. So, yeah, let's talk about this week's episode of Raw. There were a few significant events in last week's Raw, but we'll kind of cover those as we go through this week's. For instance, last week on Raw, there was a fatal four-way to determine who gets the title shot against Seth Rollins at Survivor Series, and Roman Reigns won that one. So the main event of Survivor Series will be Seth Rollins defending the WWE title against Roman Reigns. So accordingly, this episode of Raw begins with Roman Reigns coming out through the crowd. They're in Denver, Colorado this week. He enters through the crowd at the Pepsi Center, I think is where they were. And he gets in the ring and he talks about how no force on earth can stop him from becoming the next WWE champion. Okay. I mean,
but he drops that almost immediately during this segment, which is during his promo. We are talking about the current Raw. He just drops that, you know, he beat him. He's going for the WWE championship. He drops that shit immediately. It's like, you need to build up to that. He made no attempt to do that. He just went right to it.
Yeah, yeah. And he kind of made some clumsy attempts to connect with the crowd, talking about how he liked their energy. It's just he's trying to connect with the crowd a little more, but he's just not getting there quite yet, you know? But he does seem like he's a little more over than he has been. I mean, he is at least getting reactions from the crowd a little bit, not nearly, I think, as much as they would like, but at least he's not getting booed, you know, and people aren't, you know, chanting boring at him or anything. At least not this week. So Seth Rollins comes out onto the stage to respond because damn it if he's going to let Roman Reigns, you know, put the crowd to sleep when he has to come out next. So Seth comes out and he cuts his half of the promo, which is basically just recapping what he's been doing with Roman the last couple months. He mentions how he pinned Roman at WrestleMania when he cashed in Money in the Bank to win the title. He mentions how he screwed him over at Money in the Bank this year to keep Roman from winning the Money in the Bank briefcase. And, you know, Rollins is good. He has a good delivery, but his promo is basically just recapping shit that happened. It's not really telling us anything new or telling us anything exciting or a story. He's just basically filling us in on the backstory in case we haven't been paying attention. So Roman tells Rollins to just shut up and get down here in the ring so they can settle it man to man right now. So Rollins says, okay, and he teases going down to the ring, and then he stops, and then he starts again because I think the music guy missed his cue. So then the Authorities music starts. And Triple H and Stephanie McMahon come out, and they make fun of the crowd in Denver because Stephanie says, hey, do you guys want to see Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins for the WWE World Championship? And they're all like, yay. And she's like, ha, you're not going to see it, stupid. That's for Survivor Series. And Triple H makes a joke about how they must be really high, which is a really complex joke because they're in Denver, which is high altitude, and also weed is illegal. So they're high in every way you can possibly be. And he's like, you must be high if you think we're going to give you that match for free on TV, even though they ruin pay-per-view matches all the time, as we talked about in the question we answered earlier, but they're not going to ruin this one. He says, instead, we'll get a traditional 5-on-5 Survivor Series match tonight for the main event. It'll be Team Rollins versus Team Reigns, and it's completely up to the two of them to choose who their teammates are going to be, as long as they have 5 men on each side by the main event. So that's our main event, and that's basically the sort of, you know, story thread that runs through the show. It's really Seth Rollins. We don't see Roman Reigns collecting his team, but we see Seth Rollins picking up members of his team here and there throughout the show. So that's where we're headed tonight, is the 5-on-5 Survivor Series match for the main event. So what did you think of this opening here, Doc?
Well, yeah, like I said, Roman Reigns jumped in too quick with the, oh, yeah, I'm the guy next in line kind of bullshit. And
yeah,
I mean, he might be more over, but he's not more ready to be the heavyweight champion. I'm glad Seth Rollins came in there. But his claim to have won the WWE Championship, when he said that, set off an alarm in my head so big. I'm like, wait a second, Money in the Bank carrier. You actually didn't pin the holding champion as the Money in the Bank carrier. No, but that championship was on the line, but currently the championship was held by Brock Lesnar. And I thought to myself, that really should be a technicality and should be entered into logical thought next time they want to pull off shit like that. Because the Money in the Bank contract should guarantee you a match against the title holder at the time when you want to have it. So that would have been, he needed to beat Brock Lesnar. So I'm saying, as much as I love Seth Rollins, his championship altogether is a technicality. He's not really proper champion. So thanks WWE for just fucking me over there, because now that's the way I see it. As much as I love that guy, I don't see him. I see him as a false champion. He didn't actually pin the current champion. And that's what the Money in the Bank contract states. You know,
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, see, that's I remember when Seth won the title at WrestleMania. I remember at the time I wasn't quite as crazy about it as a lot of people were. Not because I had anything against Seth Rollins, because I love Seth Rollins. And actually, a lot of people think he hasn't been a very good champion, but for the most part, I think he's been a really good champion.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any problem with him as champion. But it felt like they were doing something to book themselves out of a corner. You know, they couldn't put the belt on Roman at WrestleMania because he obviously wasn't ready, and they had completely screwed up his push anyway. So even if he had been ready before the Royal Rumble, he wouldn't have been ready now because they completely fucked him. So they couldn't do that. But they didn't want to have Brock keep the title either because they weren't sure what Brock's situation was going to be, and they didn't want to leave him as champion. So they bring Seth out to cash in, but they don't want to beat Brock because they want to keep Brock strong. So Seth cashes in the Money in the Bank and wins the title, but he wins it by pinning Roman. And yeah, you're right, Doc. It doesn't really, I mean, they said, oh, he made it a triple threat match when he cashed in the Money in the Bank, but that's the first time they'd ever done it that way, you know, where he basically gives you the power to make your own, to book your own match, you know, even if the match is already going on. Like, you can book yourself into a new match and win the title without pinning the champion. And I mean, if anything, because they want to push Rollins as like the architect. I mean, Rollins should have been the one to bring that up. He should have said, I found a loophole. You know, it's not my fault that I'm smarter than these people who write these contracts. I found a loophole. Of course I pinned Roman Reigns because he was the weak link in that match, and I beat him and I won the title. You know, he should have
dismissed it, blew it off. Yeah, dismissed it immediately, blew it off, so you can't even question it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, but yeah, millions of people out there, that's a loophole, and they've never mentioned it. And I would be glad if anybody comes across this video, go to a live WWE event and say Rollins is a fluke. Rollins is a fluke. And it would be a kick in his ass, you know, and it's not deserving, but it'd just be because he's not a real champion. He's not the fucking champion, man. Not in my eyes, he's not the champion.
He's not Brock will always be my champion.
Brock still has that belt.
Yeah. So let's next. The first match of this episode of Raw is between Intercontinental Champion Kevin Owens and Dolph Ziggler, and this is actually a pretty good match. Dolph spends most of it on the sell. He hurts his leg early in the match and sells the leg for most of the match. Does a really good job of that. Kevin Owens basically just puts a beating on him. About midway through the match, Tyler Breeze enters along with Summer Rae, and they just kind of hang out at ringside and take selfies and, you know, be like a thorn in the side of Dolph Ziggler. And the finish comes when Tyler Breeze starts to take a selfie with the match going on in the background. And Dolph Ziggler, because baby faces are idiots, Dolph Ziggler attacks Tyler Breeze instead of worrying about Kevin Owens, who's like a 300-pound bull, right? He's like, forget you, Kevin Owens. I'm going to fuck with Tyler Breeze out here on the outside. That couldn't possibly go wrong, right? So while he's distracted, Owens grabs him and, you know, throws him into the ropes and hits the pop-up powerbomb and gets the pin. So Kevin Owens wins because Dolph Ziggler paid more attention to somebody outside who wasn't even bothering him than the guy in the ring. And then after the match, Tyler gets in the ring with Dolph, and he tries to take a selfie with him, but Dolph wakes up and starts fighting him. So Tyler drops him with his finish, the beauty shot, that spinning heel kick that he does. And then he and Summer take a selfie with Dolph, like, you know, laying out on the mat. So I think Dolph versus Tyler could be a good program. And I like Tyler's, you know, I've loved Tyler in NXT all along, and I really do like his humiliation gimmick after beating somebody, taking a selfie with them, you know, while they're like unconscious on the mat. I think that's a really good twist on that old trope of the heel doing something to humiliate the babyface after he beats him. And Kevin Owens wins, so no complaints for me. I thought it was a pretty good match. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this match was A+. Great starter to Raw. You've got the Intercontinental Champion out there that everybody loves, Kevin Owens. He's going to go out there and do his thing. He beat the shit out of Dolph Ziggler. They sold that leg very, 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 very well. And I'm still digging the whole black tights look, the new look of Dolph Ziggler. I think that's much better. But unfortunately, Dolph Ziggler falls victim to complete stupidity. I mean, when I'm completely beat the fuck out of Kevin Owens for some reason. I know he's still here in the ring somewhere. I'm going to go over here and pay attention to a guy who's taking pictures when people fucking take pictures of me all the time. I don't go and go like, what the fuck are you doing? I don't attack fans for taking pictures of me. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? But for some reason, this worked, and it was his own fault that he lost the match. Sorry about your luck, James Storm. And as far as yeah, this is really going to be good. I love, like what you said, that he gets up in the ring and takes the selfies with defeated opponents. That was the one moment that I really liked. I'm like, that actually works for me. I hope that we see more of that because, you know, we have the modern technology and the social media and all that bullshit that we are tapped into, or at least the WWE's tapped into. You're all tapped into it. So we can share that now, and everybody can see that picture, which I must say was a great picture. Summer Rae, you look great, baby.
Yeah, and I think I didn't realize it at the time, but I think Summer was live streaming to Facebook from her phone while they were doing it, which was just, you know, they're so hot on the social media thing. That's actually a really clever gimmick.
Brilliant.
You know? Yeah. Summer's going to stream live to the Facebook page during the match. So, I mean, that's a really great, I mean, they've got the technology. They can do that all the time. It's really smart that they would do that.
That might be the one thing that brings Summer back, because I thought to myself when she got out of this stupid ass gimmick, although she's kind of still in it,
yeah,
that could be the one thing that could tap her into social media and make her popular.
Summer is, I mean, I've said this for years now since she was down at NXT. I mean, she is someone who could get herself over. Like if they would give her a chance to talk regularly and get herself over, she can do that. She is a great heel. She is an awesome, cocky, you know, asshole prick heel who is full of herself and thinks she's better than other people. And I mean, she's great at that. And she would get over like crazy if they would just give her enough time on their TV every week to just get that over with people. You know, she could make her own fucking gimmick. But yeah, I love Tyler. I think he's great. I really hope they actually give him a decent run now that he's been called up to the main roster. I hope he doesn't go the same way as like poor fucking Bo Dallas did, or really the way they've kind of done Neville, where it's like, oh, he's the greatest thing ever. Next, you know, I mean, that's kind of
the one thing that's going to kill Tyler.
What?
I like Tyler Breeze. I think he's a great talent, but the one thing that's going to kill Tyler that people are not going to take him seriously is he has a very high-pitched voice. He sounds like a little boy, and that's going to hurt him, I think.
Yeah, maybe. He can talk though.
Yeah, the whole gimmick itself might get it over. You know, it won't matter, because if the gimmick itself gets it over, it won't matter.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, hopefully, I think the program with Dolph at least will be good, and hopefully, I mean, I hate to say this because I think Dolph has potential to be more than what he is, but hopefully they're going to use Dolph to put Tyler over. I mean, if Tyler's just come up, he shouldn't be losing to Dolph in his first big match.
He's enhancement talent.
Yeah. Hey, that's NXT is just that's what they use the Ascension for. Fuck it, enhancement talent. Yeah, they're huge, and they never lost for like a year in NXT. But you know what? Fuck it. They're just gonna put over people from now on. The next match, there's some backstage stuff that I'm not really going to talk about. Seth Rollins going around trying to find partners. I think this is the part where Seth Rollins finds Kevin Owens and bribes him into joining his team by promising him a WrestleMania match.
Bam.
Which Kevin's like, well, sure, okay. He's like, I don't really care about the Survivor Series match, but if you're going to give me a title shot at WrestleMania, yeah, sure, I'll do that. You know, because so then the next match in the ring is Cesaro versus The Miz. And this was set up during the Raw pre-show when Miz is apparently trying to form a stable, and he offered Cesaro a spot in Miz's new stable. And Cesaro said, no, thanks, because Miz is just an entertainer while Cesaro is a wrestler. Basically told Miz to go fuck himself. So now they have a match. And it's a short match. It's about 5 minutes. Not terrible. Not anything that'll like tear the house down. And Cesaro wins. He has a really nice finishing sequence where he goes right from the giant swing into the sharpshooter. I love that. and it makes perfect sense because you got the guy's legs right there. So he giant swings Miz and then blocks him in the sharpshooter and gets the tap out. And also we have to mention they are moving towards a Cesaro Stardust program because Stardust and the Ascension were in the audience holding up signs that said Stardust section. So they're working towards Cesaro versus Stardust, which could actually be a really good match if they gave him enough time to actually do something. What do you think?
Well, I mean, as far as the current Miz, boy, do I feel bad for him because he is the current enhancement talent because he just put over Cesaro, who hasn't fared well in the last couple months in the first place. I mean, yeah, he gave me 20 plus freaking swings on that.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And where is your count, people? Are you not counting along? Because I didn't hear shit. Come on, get with the fucking program. You probably were all high. I know. It was Denver.
It's Denver.
Sorry, I'll have to forgive you. I got to realize where they were coming from. Yeah, great, Miz. Thank you for your participation. We're moving into the Cesaro match versus Stardust, which I'm like, ooh, there's another one, a guy that hasn't fared well in the last couple of months. And what'd you do? You paired him with the Ascension, who hasn't fared well. I'm like, where are they winning their matches? Because I haven't seen them really ascend. Do they really deserve to be getting into a feud with Cesaro? I don't really get it. This is one feud that I don't know where it came from, where it stems from, except for, apparently Stardust wants to attack Cesaro. Are we doing the whole random attack with no reason, the Bray Wyatt style of people? I just don't get it. There's no storyline. Maybe I need to be watching fucking SmackDown, where most of these guys reside and actually probably win matches.
Yeah, but to be fair, I don't know if Vince watches SmackDown. I mean, I'm pretty sure Vince goes into the office and is like, "We're still doing SmackDown, right?" And someone's like, "Yeah, Vince, we're still doing SmackDown." Okay, good. I think that's probably about it. Stardust is. You're right. He's doing the Bray Wyatt thing. After he was done with Neville, I think he actually cut a promo on it was either Raw or it might have been SmackDown. They had one of those inset backstage promos where he was like, "Who's my next opponent gonna be?" It's like, so he's just picking people. Mm-hmm. Just pick people at random because we don't need them to actually have anything to fight about. It can just be a heel who loses all the time who picks someone else. Who's gonna beat me next? Cesaro.
Yeah, you could shoot a simple 10-second vignette of them walking back the hallways together and bumping into each other, and one has a problem with each other, and all of a sudden now they're going to fight tonight.
Sure, or book them in a match against each other, and have one of them cut a promo on the other one. Maybe have Stardust cut a promo about Cesaro. Oh, he really let the world on fire, didn't he? What talk about wasted potential? Well, let me tell you something. I'm gonna show Cesaro what potential is all about, and I'm gonna beat his ass in the ring. And then Cesaro could come back and cut a promo on Stardust and say, if he thinks he's going to walk all over me, I'll show him a thing. And then you have two guys who have something to prove who are fighting each other. Then it's about something that you can actually sink your teeth into. It's like, oh, these are two guys who, have been sort of overlooked and think that their talent hasn't been appreciated. And now each one sees the other guy as his chance to show himself to the people, and prove what he can do. And then that's like, oh, I can understand that. You want to show whoever's making the matches backstage that you're capable of more than wrestling this guy. It's not that fucking hard.
Apparently it is.
Apparently it is. Okay. Speaking of making things way harder than they need to be, let's talk about this Bray Wyatt promo. The Wyatt family comes out with their awesome entrance, as we discussed earlier. Great theme song. The people, holding up the flashlights on their smartphones in the crowd. It's amazing. It's the best entrance in wrestling. And the Wyatt family comes down so Bray can cut this ridiculous promo about how they have devoured the souls of The Undertaker and Kane. And because he has absorbed the souls of The Undertaker and Kane, Bray Wyatt now has magic powers. Mm-hmm. And we're supposed to believe that he has magic powers. the announcers don't say, "Oh, he's got the, he got the pyro to cue on his word, or he had him lower the lights and turn on the fog machine." No. He has real magic powers. It's obvious that all that's happening is the lights are changing and the pyro's going off, and there's some digital lightning, hitting the ring post when he calls down thunder and lightning. But we're supposed to believe that no, it's not. It's none of that showbiz stuff that we know damn well they use because they acknowledge it on the show all the time. It's Bray Wyatt with magic powers. He has magic powers, and I was watching it. I was complaining about it so much during the segment that my wife actually kind of had to tell me to stop because I was pissing and moaning about it so much because I thought it was so fucking terrible. And you know what I think? Here's the magic power that Bray Wyatt really needs. He doesn't need the power to turn the lights off or call down thunder sound effects or cause fake lightning to hit the ring post. You know what magic power he needs? The power to win a fucking match on pay-per-view. That's the only power that Bray needs. It doesn't matter if he has magic powers in fake-ass wrestling shows that tell you how fake they are, which I still don't understand.
Yeah.
If he can't win a fucking match. I don't know. What did you think of Bray Wyatt, the evil sorcerer, I guess?
Well, I must tell you there, Steve, I much appreciated the Wyatt family for where they actually came from, which is the backwoods. I'm talking to you about the devil's rejects type of people that come from the backwoods and don't take shit from anyone. You fucking tread across their turf and they will cut your goddamn throat. That's as simple as it is, man. That's the kind of people we are. And that's what I always thought the Wyatt family was for some reason. But all of a sudden, they want to get into this mystical fucking voodoo horse shit. And I don't get it because we all know where that lies. He might be the eater of worlds, but watch out. All of a sudden he wants to be some Harry Potter fucking pussy. I don't get it. Oh, well, you want to be like Harry Potter and fucking tread your magic around the goddamn WWE, then okay. From now on, until you get rid of that fucking bullshit, you are forever known as he who shall not be named. Until you give it up. I'm sorry about your destiny.
Yeah. You're right, though. I mean, the original Wyatt family gimmick was awesome because it was like he was like a self-made, messiah of the swamp. He was like a cult leader. And he didn't have magic powers. He talked a good game. He called himself the Eater of Worlds, and he talked about how apocalyptic everything was. And he cut these really dark, epic promos, but it was just talk. He was just a really creepy dude. He didn't have magic powers. He was just a really dark, creepy dude who had a bunch of dark, creepy friends from the woods. And if you fucked with him, he would kick the shit out of you. And that was what made it cool. And now he's like fucking a monster, like literally a monster, like making lightning strike people. Like that's just dumb. That's just dumb. You can't have Brock Lesnar coming out talking about how he's a former UFC champion and former NCAA champion and the most legit athlete that they've ever had in Suplex City and all this shit. And then on the undercard, have a guy fucking calling down lightning bolts. It's fucking dumb. It's just fucking dumb.
If any wrestler shows fear from shit like this, I completely think to myself, what an ass, what an idiot, what a maroon.
Exactly. It's just like what are we supposed to believe is going on here? That's the problem with WWE's main roster shows in general, is that from one segment to another, it's impossible to tell what is this even supposed to be. What do the people making the show want me as the audience to think about this? It's hard to tell. Am I supposed to be invested in the athletes? Am I supposed to think that this is a competition and I want to see who wins? And I root for my favorite and hope he beats the other guy? Is it a soap opera? Because by the way, I have to tell you, if it's a soap opera, it's fucking terrible. I mean, everybody always says wrestling is like a soap opera, but if all it is a soap opera, it's fucking terrible. And I'm saying, judging on the sliding scale of soap operas, it's not even good for a soap opera. It's fucking terrible. So if that's what they're going for, they really need to think again. And now it's not even a soap opera. Now it's like an episode of fucking Goosebumps, where it's like, oh, Bray Wyatt stole the Undertaker's magic powers, and the Undertaker's going to have to beat him at Survivor Series to get his mojo back or something. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Roman Reigns is talking about how he's going to win his first world title from Seth Rollins, and then the undercard is Undertaker fighting Bray Wyatt over his magic powers. You fucking kidding me? This is why people made fun of the Hogan Warrior program in WCW, because it had Warrior fucking appearing in magic mirrors backstage, and everybody said, this is fucking stupid. What are they doing? This is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. And they were right. And this is fucking dumb too. This is the exact same kind of shit. This is like hokey 1980s little kid shit. The kind of thing that they like to say that they're past, that they've grown beyond, that now the show is more sophisticated now. No, bullshit. You had Bray Wyatt fucking calling down lightning from the ceiling, okay? You don't get to talk about how grown up and adult your show is. I'm sorry. I don't know. Not my favorite segment of the show, as you can tell.
Gay, not in the gay way. But it's gay.
In a bad way. Not in a good way. Yeah, it's just terrible. And again, well, we were talking about Bray earlier. I think Bray is one of their absolute top flight talents. I think he is a main event quality talent. And to see that, I mean, they would rather do this to try and keep him over than just let the motherfucker win a match every now and then. Just book him in a match with somebody that he can have a good match with. And then when they get to the pay-per-view, Bray wins the fucking match. How about that?
Yeah, in that time he took to cut that promo, he could have kicked the shit out of Zack Ryder.
Fuck yes! Zach's just back there collecting a paycheck. Zach, get your shit on. Get out here. Bray's gonna fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it all gets better though, because the next segment is actually a pretty good match. It's the a tag team match between the Lucha Dragons and King Barrett and Sheamus. Nice to see that they're using King Barrett and Sheamus as a tag team, Doc, because I know you said that they would make a great tag team many times, and now they've been working as a tag team. And this is actually a really fun tag team match. I really enjoyed this. The finish comes when Kalisto hits King Barrett with the Salida del Sol, his finish, and gets the pin, so the good guys win, and that pops the crowd. They were really excited to see the Lucha Dragons win. The crowd seemed like they were pretty into this match most of the way through. And I think both teams did a really good job. And I do think it's a little sad to see Barrett and Sheamus, who are, I remind everybody, the King of the Ring and Money in the Bank winner, just kind of thrown together as a tag team on the mid-card. But on the other hand, they are a great team. So it's sort of like, shit, Wade Barrett won King of the Ring and now he's in a tag team with Sheamus. You know, Sheamus won the Money in the Bank. He can cash it in for a world championship opportunity anytime he wants, and he's working with King Barrett as a tag team in the mid-card. That doesn't seem right. But on the other hand, they're really great as a tag team. So, you know, can't complain too much. I thought this was a decent little match. What do you think? Yeah,
absolutely. It was exciting. The fans were behind it. It was a shame that, it was a shame to me that Barrett and Sheamus, the Money in the Bank and King of the Ring, lost.
Yeah.
To the Lucha Dragons, but they did, and I'm glad of that. You know, I mean, Lucha Dragons need that power win, which might put them up. Yeah, we need some contendership to the tag team titles for the New Day. So, and obviously Barrett and Sheamus are heels, and they got other things on their plate at the time. So we need to build up some good guys. So I think this was a plus for the Lucha Dragons, and the fans love that lucha shit. Yeah, I'm still a little disappointed though. I mean, because I like Barrett. I'm thinking maybe we want to bring him down, calm him down, put him in this tag team together. Obviously Barrett is the King of the Ring. We don't know at this point when the fuck or how the fuck we could possibly cash the Money in the Bank contract in with Sheamus.
Yeah.
I at this point I don't know, so I don't think they know either. They might, but keeping them as a tag team could if you're smart about it and start, putting your brains together backstage, you could possibly build a storyline of they're still a tag team if Sheamus cashes in that championship, and you could build a rivalry between the two.
That would work. Yeah, and it would at least give them somewhere to go when they start building toward Sheamus maybe actually cashing that in. Because, yeah, I mean, does Sheamus seem like a WWE champion to you at this point? He doesn't seem like that to me. No. I mean, it's not like, here comes Sheamus. They're going to put the title on Sheamus. They're not putting the fucking title on Sheamus. Are you crazy?
Yep. Seen it before. I wasn't very excited. Sorry.
Yeah. And that was and that was when they were actually pushing him as a world champion. Mm-hmm. I mean, now they're not even pushing him. And they're like, oh, no, but he's got the briefcase. He can cash it in at any moment. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You're right. I'm sure they're this close to pulling the trigger and putting the belt on Sheamus. Yep. Absolutely. Okay. So let's talk about the Alberto Del Rio stuff, because there was a backstage segment where Jack Swagger shows up and he's like, hey, I'm Jack Swagger. And he walks up to Zeb Coulter and he says, Zeb, what's up with you and Alberto? I don't get that, man. And Zeb says, well, Jack, I'm all about bringing the United States and Mexico together from now on. I want our two great countries to unite and join forces. And he says he considers himself part of Mex America. And Swagger's like, I don't really get that. So Alberto walks in and he says, fuck you. Mind your own business. Get out of here. Jack says, okay, and leaves. So I guess we're getting Alberto versus Jack again, but this time it'll be flipped, where Jack, I guess, will be the babyface, and Alberto will be the heel, and Alberto will be aligned with Zeb instead of Zeb being aligned with Jack. So, I mean, no complaints there. I like both guys. I really, really like Alberto Del Rio. I've always been a huge fan of his, and I like Swagger too. I think Swagger could be so much more than he has been. So I think that could be really good. Don't really get the story. Don't really get why Zeb would all of a sudden decide that Mexicans and Americans should be friends, and then why that would make him the heel. But whatever. So then we go to the match, and the match is Alberto defending, or no, I guess I don't even know if it's a title match. But anyway, it's Alberto versus R-Truth, and they wrestled last week too, and Alberto beat him then, and he beats him again this time. So good to see R-Truth out there getting some TV time, I guess. But yeah, so anyway, there you go. Alberto Del Rio is back. He's the U.S. champion. He's beating people. That's good, I guess. What do you think?
Well, it's great to see Alberto Del Rio back in the WWE. He's a great talent, and that's where he deserves to be on national television. I think this might be a part of his punishment of his release. Did they put him with Zeb Coulter? I don't know. That's just speculation at this point, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, I don't get their pairing. I guess maybe Zeb Coulter, who was completely against, everything but America, went onto, I guess, a Dr. Phil show or some shit like that, or maybe Montel Williams, it's like, I just don't get it. But, all of a sudden he's turned around and he wants to see, a unification of Mexican people in America. But he still shuns the Canadians, which I don't get, because if I wanted to be partners with somebody, I was like, hey, there's Canada up there.
Especially if you want to build yourself a wrestling stable.
Yeah, they got good bacon, too. Spike bacon and all that, and they really love their jelly donuts, you hoser. But yeah, I love Canada. And Trailer Park Boys and SCTV. I mean, shit, Canada.
About it.
What's Mexico ever brought you but like really dramatized fucking soap operas? Camilla, it's all. It's all. I don't know. They have Telemundo down there, but I guess if you speak Spanish, which I don't, I speak Canadian, but I don't speak Spanish. I'm not trying to be, I love all you guys, but yeah, I just don't get the jizz between fucking Jeb Coulter and fucking Alberto Del Rio. Yeah. It doesn't make fucking sense to me. I do really think it's part of a punishment. You have to sit through this and go through this to get back in good grace with us, and as a good show of our goodwill, we'll give you the championship because Cena's out. I think that it will be an exciting moment for everybody, and we need a Latina superstar.
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering about this when Alberto came back because, I mean, you would think, I mean, that was probably a selling point for him agreeing to come back was them saying, hey, you're going to step in for Cena. We'll bring you in, and Cena's taken a couple months off, so you're going to be our guy who's going to take the belt off of Cena and carry it while Cena's gone. I think that was probably something that Alberto found really appealing. But I was wondering, why would Alberto come back unless he had real confidence that they were actually going to use him? Because when Alberto left last time, he left, because he attacked an employee that had insulted him and said something that he considered very demeaning and racist, and he was just standing up for himself. But he struck an employee, so he was released. But even leading into that, and I think he said this in interviews since his release, that he was not happy with how he was being used, that he didn't like his position on the card. He didn't like who his opponents were. He wasn't happy with his programs at the time. So when Alberto left for the first time, it seemed like it was kind of, he was ready to go. And I was wondering if, now that he's back, and he's been doing pretty good. It's not like he's been living on the street. He's been wrestling in AAA. He was on Lucha Underground a little bit. I mean, he's having a good career outside of the WWE. So for him to come back, I mean, I just can't imagine, unless he just thinks that there's so much money on the table that maybe it's just worth it for his bank account. I can't imagine him agreeing to eat any kind of a shit sandwich to come back. Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, if I were Alberto Del Rio and I was, working steadily in Mexico and California, and WWE comes and says, hey, you want to come back to work for us? I would say, yeah, I'll come back to work for you. But part of the deal is you have to promise that you're actually going to push me and you're actually going to make me into somebody like I think we both know I can be. And you're not just going to have me win for a month and then have me down there fucking around, jerking off on the mid card with everybody else. You're going to use me for something, or I'm not coming in. I'm sure I have no idea if any conversation like that took place, but if I were a person in Alberto's position, that's a conversation I would have had. I would have said, I would love to come back and wrestle for WWE, but I'm not coming back to jerk off in the mid card. I'm coming back to be a star. And if you're going to make me a star and you're going to use me in that way and give me that chance, then great. Let's make a deal. If not, I got shit to do in AAA. I'm doing fine. But hopefully that's what they'll do. Because
maybe someday they can get around to forgiving Hogan for his racist comments, because that's the whole thing that Alberto was fired, and all of a sudden he's back in good graces. Yeah. But okay, I mean, I know Hogan made him, and Alberto responded to it. He showed violence toward racist response.
Right. Alberto didn't say
I don't think he was wrong in that, honestly. If somebody was fucking, disparaging him in that way, then, I mean, this guy might be of a different fucking, origin, but he comes here to America. He works for his fucking dollar. He works hard. He's just as good as any other fucking white male on America. Believe me, I run into a lot of fucking Latinos, and they work so much fucking harder than us. They do. So, I mean, for you to make remarks to a guy who is actually doing it in his face, he should punch you in the mouth.
Alberto said, I'll come back, but I that guy I hit before when you fired me, I want to be able to hit him one more time, and then I'll come back to work. That's the deal. Anyway, so yeah, hopefully they'll do something with Alberto. I think they should. They very easily could. They should have the last time when he was through the first time. He could have been a major star, and they kind of, Yeah.
But lay off the fucking Canadians, Zeb.
Yeah. just because they got their shit together and America doesn't, I mean, that's no reason to take it out on them.
Yeah, they have good comedy.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I don't get hockey either, but let's not hold it against them. Anyway, so next is a fatal four-way to crown a number one contender for the Divas championships to decide who's going to face Charlotte for the championship at Survivor Series, and it is between Paige, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and Brie Bella. And again, I think this was a really strong match. They got a lot of time. All four of them had their chance to sort of shine during the match, although Brie's shine spot was Daniel Bryan's shine spot, just doing the kicks.
Someone's got to do it, yes.
Someone's got to do it. You know, I mean, yeah, she's a heel, and I don't know if she should be doing count-along babyface spots, but they don't really pay attention to that shit anymore anyway. They don't really care. Like, yeah, I'm sure there's probably like fucking, 80-year-old Pat Patterson backstage going, why is she doing the babyface spots when she's a heel? Shut up, Pat. We don't do it that way anymore. Okay. But I thought, Becky had a really good spot where she was throwing suplexes there in the middle. I thought that was awesome. I thought Becky did really good all through the match. I thought she was kind of the glue that held it together. Sasha did great. Had her spots and was doing her trash talk, which I thought was great. And the finish was Paige gets the win over Becky with the Rampage. So they set up Paige versus Charlotte, which I think they've been moving towards for the last month anyway.
Which honestly, Paige was that weakest link if it comes to show of what you performed or who was on top the longest. If you cut that down to, to who had the upper hand, you cut those down to time limits, Paige was the least. And she comes out the winner. So that's smart. She saved energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I thought it was a good match. And then afterwards, they gave Paige a little bit of a promo. Byron Saxton got in the ring, and Paige healed on the fans, said if you were cheering for any of the other girls, then you're losers. And she also said if you cheer for Charlotte at Survivor Series, or as Paige called her, little baby Flair, if you cheer for little baby Flair, then you're losers too. I thought that was great. So no complaints for me. I thought it was a good match, and I thought it was a good way to set up Paige versus Charlotte.
Yeah, it seems that the WWE for some reason can wrap their heads around building up a championship match in one division.
Yeah, weird, right?
Now, we have, 3 weeks away from Survivor Series? Will we see Paige and Charlotte come in contact with each other? Between those 2 minutes, we have tag team matches. I mean, who's going to tag with Paige anyway? She's pretty much saying fuck you to everybody.
Paige ain't got any friends. Yeah, that's right. I really hope that they do it old school and they don't have them come into contact with each other at all. I mean, they had Charlotte cut a backstage promo afterwards that I thought was pretty good. And if they can build it up like that, they can have Paige cut promos where she makes fun of Charlotte for being Ric Flair's kid and saying how, she doesn't deserve what she's got. And Charlotte can come back at her and say, oh, go ahead, Paige, keep talking. We'll find out, I'll show you that I deserve to have this title, that I didn't get it because I was Ric Flair's girl. I think that would be great. Instead of having them do like endless fucking tag team matches where they fight each other for an hour before they ever get in the ring at Survivor Series,
I just got my notice that we're streaming live on my phone. So that is my Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy tablet. Don't panic. I want to make it look like a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So it's like, don't panic.
That's awesome. And it's good to know that we're actually streaming live after we've been on for an hour. Great. Thanks, Google. Okay, so now let's talk about the main event, because we've arrived at the main event. Team Reigns versus Team Rollins. Team Reigns, by the way, wound up being Roman and the Usos, who are back. Jimmy Uso was out most of the year with an injury. Now he's back. And also Ryback and Dean Ambrose. And Team Rollins is Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and all three members of the New Day. So that's a pretty good Survivor Series match. Not on Survivor Series, on an episode of Raw, but whatever. It's a good Survivor Series match. And I thought this was a really good match. They gave him half an hour, some really good action. All three of the New Day did amazing. I thought Xavier Woods wasn't in the match very long. He got eliminated like very first thing, but his trash talk and his little hype in the beginning was great, because you could see it coming from a mile away. You knew what was going to happen. And that's what they did. They had him get taken out by the Usos like immediately, but I thought it was very well done. And the crowd was into it for the most part. The only thing that I thought was a little worrying was they didn't seem nearly as into Roman as you would hope they would be, considering that Roman's the guy getting the title shot. They were way more into Dean, even though Dean spent most of the match on the apron, but they were into the match. They popped for the things they should pop for. And the finish came when it came down to Ambrose and Reigns versus Rollins after there was some miscommunication between Owens and Rollins, and Owens got pinned. Owens, by the way, was awesome too. He was putting on the fucking heel clinic in this match, fucking trash talking, making fun of guys, stealing their catchphrases and their taunts, jawing with the fans. He was just fucking awesome. And so it's down to Ambrose and Reigns versus Rollins all by himself. So Rollins grabs a chair and whacks Reigns with the chair and gets intentionally disqualified. So he loses the match, but he doesn't actually have to eat a pin. So the baby faces win, the heels lose, but the champion gets to sort of escape. So I thought it was pretty good. I thought this was a really strong main event and a really good close to the show. What do you think, Doc?
Well, it was really good to see Xavier Woods back in action and the whole complete trio of the New Day. I really enjoyed it. Let me hold my uniform. Hold on. Unfortunately, he got eliminated. That's a shame. Very quickly, but maybe someone talked about like on our YouTube channel, like where's the third championship, where's his gold? I'm like, his gold's his trombone. That championship's just, there's only two, they float around between the three, and whoever to pick to defend it can defend it. I think that's good enough. But yeah, he gets eliminated. All three members of the New Day get eliminated, and that's a shame. I love that Seth Rollins' hair dried out because he's got a nice little curly perm in that shit. There's a thrash song going around on Facebook about Seth Rollins about him. So I'm gonna have to share that on our Wrestling with Wrestling Facebook page. But yeah, the crowd was definitely behind fucking Dean Ambrose. I mean, and I can feel for the crowd because I myself am just knowing that you're trying to reset the fucking table to shove fucking Rowan down our throat again. And I don't Roman Reigns down our throat again. And I really am not ready for him. I don't like him, as a heavyweight champion or anything. So I don't think he's the right guy in that position. But yeah, obviously you want to go that direction again. So if you have any backlash from the fucking crowd, it's your own goddamn fault. Survivor Series match. Holy shit. We got that on fucking Raw for free? Yeah, for free? Not for $9.99 a month. We got that shit for free? Nice. Maybe we could probably see one or two of them on the actual Survivor Series.
Right.
I mean, it's what? The 25-year anniversary. We're celebrating The Undertaker's 25-year anniversary. Well, let's look back at the last 25 years. Most of those had actual fucking elimination matches. For some reason, you change the formats, and that drives me fucking crazy because it is the Survivor Series. If they ever eliminate the Royal Rumble, the Battle Royal from the Royal Rumble, I am going to quit watching wrestling completely.
That is a great point. It makes no sense to have the Survivor Series where there aren't Survivor matches. That's why they call it the fucking Survivor Series in the first place, because it's a series of matches that are under Survivor rules. But yeah, why would you do the Royal Rumble and just not have the Royal Rumble? It makes no sense. And those fucking Survivor Series matches from back in the day, so a lot of those matches were great.
Mm-hmm. I mean, some of my favorites. They are some of my favorite Survivor Series of all time. They're
amazing. Oh my God. I think it was the very first one, the main event, when it was Andre's team versus Hogan's team. And it came down to Bam Bam was the last member on the Hogan team left. Mm-hmm. And Bam Bam fucking worked his ass off. If anybody has ever wondered why people thought that Bam Bam Bigelow was like such a great wrestler, watch the main event of the first Survivor Series when it comes down to Bam Bam as the last babyface against like the entire Andre team. And watch
hashtag Steve's recommendation.
Hey, there you go. The first Survivor Series. Make that one. But yeah, I mean, those Survivor Series classic matches are fucking phenomenal and just tons of fun. And that was back when they didn't kill everybody facing everybody else on TV every week. So a lot of times it was the only time you get to see some of those combinations, and it was, I don't understand why they ever killed that gimmick. I mean, it makes sense to have a title match, I guess, but have a title match and then have, an undercard with 3 or 4 Survivor Series matches on it.
But if you're watching this now, right now, if you're watching this live, I want you to get on social media right now. It's hashtag Survivor Series is bullshit. Go back to the old stuff.
Yes.
Hashtag Survivor Series is bullshit. Go back to the old stuff. So if you're watching this live, go hashtag that shit.
Yeah, god damn it. So yeah, it doesn't. I mean, speaking of killing pay-per-views, you know, it's not quite. It would be like if they did a free Hell in a Cell match 3 weeks before the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. You know, I mean, everybody. I love the Survivor Series matches. I love the 5-on-5 elimination format. I think that's a really good match, and I think this main event was a really fun match. But that's what you have a whole pay-per-view for that. Why are you giving it away? You know, and why are you surprised that people don't buy your pay-per-views as much as they used to when you give your shit away for free on TV? It's a lot of this just doesn't make sense to me.
We're concerned about our ratings. If we gave them shit, our ratings would go down.
Which they did. The ratings for the third hour were the lowest of the entire show this week, and the ratings are still going down. So yay, good thing you gave.
That's why you build up.
Yeah, good thing you gave away that Survivor Series match for free. Yeah, so anyway, but other than that, I mean, those are the same sort of long-term problems that the show has had for years are still there, but as an individual episode, judging on match quality, this was actually a pretty good episode of Raw. I thought it had 3 really good matches. So I can't complain too much. Favorite match?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know.
I should talk about that once a week. You know, our favorite match on Raw.
I mean, the main event was good, but I really liked that tag match with the Luchas and Sheamus and Wade.
And I'm going to go with the Divas myself. I think the Divas did a great job.
The Divas was a really good match. Absolutely.
Didn't have too many, distractions from the fans, which is nice.
Yeah. And the fans were into it. And it was like, see, this is what it should be. It should be just like the guys. It shouldn't be, it's a Divas match. They're in there beating the shit out of each other and trying to win, just like the guys. That's how it should be. So yeah, I agree with that. Divas match was awesome. So Doc Gregory, my friend, would you like to tell us a little bit about a legendary wrestler for our Legend of the Week? I believe our legend this week is going to be something, right? Because this is
he is somebody. I tell you, woo, boy, he was something. His bio is not that big because before wrestling became what it was, this guy came and gone. But let's talk about our wrestler legend of the week, Robert Herman Julius Friedrich, born June 30th, 1891. Also known. He was born in, he was born in Nakusa, Wisconsin. And Friedrich began wrestling at the age of 14 using the ring name Ed Strangler Lewis, who is our Legend of the Week. In the tribute, he actually did that in the tribute of 1890 star Evan Strangler Lewis. It was also stated in the A&E documentary, The Unreal Story of Professional Wrestling, that he was dubbed the Strangler after a match in France where he applied a sleeper hold, and the French, who were unfamiliar with the hold, thought he was strangling his opponent. He was a pivotal figure in the Goldust Trio, along with promoters Toots Mont and Big Billy Sandow. Ooh, not to be confused with our current Sandow. A traveling road show that was the precursor to wrestling tours. Road show. These are like circus shows, people. That's where wrestling really came from, was the old circus. So that's why, wrestlers, if you ever come in contact with an old wrestler, ask him to throw some carny on your ass, you know? So fuck you, Snoop Dogg, you stole that from us. So it was a precursor to wrestling tours in which he revolutionized wrestling by creating undercards, promoting full events instead of one-match shows. They also developed the first wrestling storyline, creating worked feuds between wrestlers. So he was involved in this. Because of the legit skills Lewis possessed, the trio could put the belt on whoever they wanted, because Lewis had the ability to defeat anyone who would not follow the script. Well, we call this in the book, in the business, a shooter. Yeah. Lewis captured his first World Heavyweight Championship, recognized on December 13th, 1920, defeating Joe Stecher. Stecher would prove to be Lewis's biggest rival, both in and out of the ring, with Stecher running his own shows against the Goldust Trio, beginning quite possibly the first promotional rivalry. Lewis and Stetcher wrestled one of the longest matches in pro wrestling history, where they battled for 5.5 fucking hours. Yeah, earning only a draw. The climax of their feud came on April 15, 1925, when Goldust Trio star and former champion Stanislaus Zbyszko, and if I said that wrong, I apologize. Stanislaus Zbyszko was asked to lose to the Goldust Trio's own handpicked champion, Wayne Munn, a former football star, in an effort to give Munn credibility. Zbyszko balked at the idea of losing to an unskilled wrestler and secretly jumped to the Joe Stetcher camp. Zbyszko double-crossed the Goldust Trio, using his knowledge of holds to legitimately defeat, in the process, humiliate Munn. Eventually, Lewis and Stetcher settled their differences and agreed to do business with each other, with Stetcher dropping the World Championship back to Lewis on February 20th of 1928. In 1933, one of Strangler's greatest matches took place in Madison Square Garden, the epic fucking place of all wrestling. He was fighting Ray Steele for the title. The two men began circling each other, but no fighting happened, which made the fans bored. Steele finally ended the match by punching Lewis, causing the referee to disqualify him 20 minutes into the match. I guess punching was illegal with the closed fist back in those days. It would immediately get you disqualified, I guess. On September 20th, 1934, Lewis wrestled Jim Londos in front of an audience of 35,275 at Wrigley Field, and drawing a record gate of $96,302, which would stand until 1952. Later in his career, Lewis befriended a young Lou Thez, who he taught the art of hooking, which, yeah, that's part of shooting.
Yeah.
That's the ability to inflict pain on a person using variable holds. And yes, I learned my fair share of hooking as well. Lewis himself was one of the greatest hookers of his day and passed his knowledge on to Thez. In 1937, the Strangler had 6 contests in New Zealand. He beat Floyd Marshall, John Spellman, Glenn Wade, and Rusty Westcote, and lost twice to the great Canadian champion, because Canadian does give good shit, Earl McCready, who was then established as the top wrestler in New Zealand. Ed Strangler Lewis is considered to be the creator of the sleeper hold, though it was actually a cross between the modern-day sleeper and a side headlock. Wrestling greats like Lou Thez and Vern Gagne had stated that Ed Lewis was the greatest wrestler ever and could only be beat when he allowed himself to be beat, like Andre the Giant, to further a worker's angle. And that's because he was a real guy. So if you lost at him, he gave you that fucking win. That's the same thing that Andre always did. Post-wrestling, Lewis went into semi-retirement in 1935, but came out of retirement at the age of 51 in 1942, despite being legally blind. He retired from wrestling for good in 1948 at 57 years old at the November 1949 NWA convention in St. Louis. Lewis was named the ambassador of goodwill for the NWA. In later years, he would become the manager of his good friend and reigning NWA champion, Lou Thez. Lewis went blind from trachoma. He was destitute and relied on his wife and acquaintances to survive. He died in New York on August 8, 1966, at the age of 75. In 1999, Lewis was inducted into the George Tragos Lou Thez Hall of Fame. Today, a Wisconsin State historical marker commemorates his achievements in his hometown of Nakusa on Prospect Avenue. In 2002, Lewis was voted in by wrestlers, historians, and writers, and inducted into the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame in Amsterdam, New York. Of course, like I said, his finishing was the stranglehold, which was the sleeper hold innovated, and signatures moves was the headlock. That is my take on my Legend of the Week, a great wrestler, and only because he was a hooker, he was a shooter, and I respect those guys that, you know, if you're not going to sell for them, they will make you fucking sell. And Strangler Lewis.
Man, anybody who is a fan of pro wrestling today owes a big thank you to Ed Strangler Lewis, because this is the guy who basically invented what we think of today as professional wrestling, where there's a lot of showbiz involved, where the outcomes of the matches are predetermined, where you're going to see an entire show, not just one match. A lot has obviously changed And it's way different now than it was when Strangler Lewis was doing it in the 20s and 30s. But even so, the basic format of what a pro wrestling show was created by Ed Strangler Lewis and his colleagues, as you mentioned, in the Goldust Trio. But it was really Ed. He was the star. He was the mastermind behind it. He was the one who sort of, created the Wild West show version of a wrestling show. And I mean, he's the father of what we watch today and of what we love. And it was so long ago and things were so different that it's really impossible to judge like how good of a worker he was. It's difficult to talk about him in those terms because, I mean, even when you watch wrestlers from the 60s and 70s, a lot of the times you have to make adjustments. And when you're trying to decide how good of a wrestler they were, because the style was so vastly different, it was a lot slower, it was a lot more deliberate, it was a lot more mat based. So, one of those matches by today's standards might seem slow and boring, when at the time it would have been considered really exciting, and then you hear about fucking Ed Lewis, and Joe Stecker wrestling for 5 hours. I mean, it's like, what? Holy shit. Like, how could anybody sit still for that? But, people loved it. It was a big deal at the time. And if you're a wrestling fan, you owe a big thank you to Ed Strangler Lewis, because without him, what we think of as pro wrestling might not even exist, So he's one of the great legends of all time. I mean, he's like a Mount Rushmore type legend, What is your WWE Network recommendation, Doc?
Well, you certainly aren't going to go to the network and find any videos on Ed Strangler Lewis. I can tell you that much. But I am going to take you a little bit old school with my recommendation this week, Old School, from March 24th, 1978, taking place at the Philadelphia Spectrum. One of these 6 men are going to be next week's legend. And you comment below and vote which one you want to be. I'm going to tally them up, and we're going to do that legend.
Cool.
And voting will end Sunday midnight. So Monday morning, those will be taken up. Here is my recommendation. Old School from March 24th, 1978. We got Bob Backlund taking on Spyros Arion. We got Kemp Patera taking on Bruno Sammartino, please God no. And we got Haystack Calhoun taking on Nikolai Volkov. So check that out. So I'm taking the Old School. Enjoy that shit. It's actually really good. The Bob Backlund versus Spyros Arion is a really good match. Commentating is bang the fuck on, man.
Awesome. I love those Old School shows on the network. Those are some of my favorites. So there you go. So remember what Doc said. One of those 6 guys that he just mentioned on that Old School show will be the legend next week. So leave a comment down below and say which one of those you would like to see to be next week's legend. That's a great idea. A little viewer poll. It'll be fun. Yeah, and check out that show because those old school shows on the network are just awesome.
And as always, I will share the link to that show on our Facebook page, Wrestling with Wrestling on Facebook.
Absolutely. Check us out on Facebook and vote for next week's legend. And if you're a WWE Network subscriber, watch that show because that's just there's no reason not to. It's just an amazing, resource. Well, that's it for us, Doctor. Time to wrap this baby up. We already plugged the Facebook page, facebook.com/wrestlingwithwrestling. Check it out to keep in touch with Doc and I. We post things there during the week, wrestling related. It's a good way to keep involved with the show. Not only vote for next week's legend, but also leave a question or a comment for us to answer at the beginning of next week's show. And I guess that's it, right?
Oh, except for, if you stumble across this man's channel, on YouTube, Mr. Steve Shives, well, if you've suddenly decided for some reason that you don't believe in God anymore, or you're a huge wrestling fan, or you have major concerns on feminism, or, any topic that might be concerning the right way people should be acting, you might stumble across this man up here, Steve Shives. Subscribe to his channel and go to his Patreon channel and contribute, because with your help, he can make much better videos. And if you don't believe me, just watch his recent Steven Stuffy video, which was freaking brilliant. I mean,
thank
dude,
you, man.
we got bumped last week for editing of that video, and I forgive you because it was awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That was, oh God, it was fucking murder to edit, but I'm glad it turned out good. Yeah, so there you go. Thanks everybody. And hey, subscribe to Doc's YouTube channel as well, Boar's Head Bill. That's good shit. And that's it. We're done.
That's it.
We're completely through.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here. You got a life.
Oh my God. Go watch wrestling on your own. We're through talking about it.
Well, you're still here? Get the fuck out of here.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week.